Craig, the Australian economy, just a very quick snapshot, the way you see it.
Australian economy is in wonderful shape. You think all the other economies of the world, the advanced nations, all went backwards last year. We went forwards. So the Australian economy is in good shape. The labour market's tightening. The only concern, of course, is that we're probably doing a little bit too well, and that's why interest rates are going up.
And South Australia in particular?
South Australia is probably around about the middle of the pack. Down the bottom we've got places like New South Wales. At the top we've got the resource states, Western Australia and Queensland. And South Australia, together with Tasmania, some of the smaller states are doing probably sort of pretty well, but around about the middle.
How stable is the Australian economy moving forward in the short, medium and long term?
Well, the Australian economy is very well placed. I mean, if you look at our debt levels, we've got the lowest debt levels of any advanced nation in the world. Our budget deficit isn't overly significant either. And the Australian economy is growing. And that's more than can be said for a lot of other advanced nations of the world. The key thing is we've got China, which is fueling our growth. High population growth, fastest population growth in the order of 40 years. And we've got super strong demand for construction. Whether it's residential, commercial, engineering, construction. So those three drivers really are powering the Australian economy, and it is going to perform very, very well over 2010.
Now, just changing tact a little bit with regard to the impacts on our market indirectly. The industrial laws have changed. How will that impact, do you think, through the economy and they're talking about big amounts of paid maternity leave, and what sort of impact does all of this have and the big spending have moving forward?
Well, I think it's only an impact at the margin. We did have flexible labour laws before Labor came to power. Labor thought some of the practices were a little bit unfair, a little bit too disadvantaged for the ordinary employee. So they changed some of the things, but they basically tinkered at the margin. This was not a wholesale scrapping or a whole change in terms of our industrial relations law. Really, we do have a very flexible workforce, a very flexible set of industrial relations laws, and I don't think they are a great constraint on any individual business or the economy as a whole.
Now, Craig, just looking at the really big picture with the economy, we keep an eye on America. We've always followed America. China now is talked about endlessly. India is now starting to come into the conversations. Where should we look for a lead indicator?
Well, we've got to forget what we've learnt in the past, that United States and UK and Germany, France, they're the economies that drive the global economy and our Australian economy. Well, that may have been the case in the past. It's no longer the case now. China is our largest trading partner. China is going to be important to Australia's economic success in coming years. In financial markets, it's still a case that we wake up and we look at what the US Dow Jones did overnight, and that's probably not going to change anytime soon. But in terms of our economy, it's a case that Australia, as well as the rest of the world, is now looking much closely at Chinese economic indicators as their source of direction.
Now, we've seen in South Australia an enormous increase in the amount of money that's being put into our property market by Asian people. Is that a national trend, and is that likely to continue?
Well, certainly foreign investors are more active, and because they see the opportunities in the Australian economy. They're looking at Australia and they're saying fast population growth, housing affordability, still pretty good. We've got greater demand for properties, we haven't got enough supply. So they're seeing house prices are rising, they're seeing upward pressure on rents, and they're seeing the opportunities in terms of investment. In terms of our future here in Australia, it's very much tied to China. We're one of the biggest beneficiaries from China and India's industrialisation. So the longer term prospects for our economy are good, and that's what foreign investors realise.